My name is Brooke White and this is Placement 1, Block 4. My challenging question is, if I had my chance over with the patient, how would I enhance my occupational therapy program and why? Next time, in conjunction with the initial interview, I would also utilise a more formalised assessment tool, such as the Canadian Occupational Performance Measure. Being a client-centred assessment, it would enable the client to identify her occupational performance concerns, which would facilitate goal setting and enable the interventions to be targeted at achieving these goals. I would also use the COPM to evaluate my occupational therapy program, as I would re-administer it with the patient prior to discharge to enable the client to identify and quantify any areas of change or improvement. Next time, I would also grade my cognitive retraining exercises more thoroughly. For example, I gave the patient an electricity bill paying exercise, as managing her finance was one of her rehabilitation goals. However, after completing the second question out of 15 questions, the patient became quite teary and was overwhelmed by this exercise, as this was something that she found quite simple to complete, managing her finances prior to admission. Okay, so reflecting back and for future practice, I would grade this activity from low to high and get the patient to perform 2 questions each day until the exercise was finished. This would just enable them to achieve success and would provide a just right challenge for the patient. In conjunction, during the kitchen skills practice intervention, I would also grade this more thoroughly. The patient did request to start with a complex meal of bacon and eggs, which required the use of an electric stove. The patient, after being orientated to the kitchen, was required to have several prompts to locate items, secondary to poor short-term memory and an unfamiliar environment. The patient was also prompted to turn the electricity stove off, which remained a safety concern. So for future practice, I should probably start, next time I would get the patient to start with a more simple meal, such as cereal or toast that does not require an electric stove, and then over the course of time, we could grade that activity up and the patient could prepare a more complex meal, such as the bacon and eggs that required the electricity stove, once the patient becomes more familiar with the environment that she's working in. I could also have used chaining in the initial stages of learning, or errorless learning, and this would have helped the patient to achieve success and would have facilitated her ability to progress from a simple meal to a complex meal, or achieve success with the complex meal to start with. During the community access retraining, which looks at reintegrating the patient back into the community and looks at shopping, money management, calculations and road safety, I could have graded this activity up. So the patient started with going to the local cafe to purchase 2 coffees, which she did quite successfully and was able to negotiate and recall the change given. So we could have graded this activity up and she could have purchased several items at a larger, busier shopping complex, which would have had increased noise and distractors and would have required the patient to negotiate larger sums and perform larger calculations. As the patient wanted to return home, I could have also incorporated domestic activities of daily living into her interventions, including making her own bed and washing and folding her own laundry. I'd also ensure that I have a thorough understanding of the patient's prognosis, treatment plan, and diagnosis before attempting any assessment or intervention in the future. Thank you.